My name is Courtney Sheehan, and I'm the executive director here at Northwest Film Forum. Northwest Film Forum is an independent film and arts center in the heart of the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle. We were originally founded in 1995 as a filmmakers collective called Wiggly World Studios. We've got 2 movie theaters, a workshop room where we teach a ton of classes for filmmakers, a film vault, a gear cage where we have equipment that we use for the classes and also rent out to filmmakers, and our office, and a pretty fun lobby where we like to party. Right now we're celebrating the 20th edition of the Local Sightings Film Festival. For the opening night, the costume theme is the film/filmmaker that made you fall in love with film. And tonight I am dressed up as Tom Hulse from Amadeus because my parents are musicians, and one of the very first films they showed us was Amadeus. Tonight is all about hearing from local filmmakers about some early formative mistakes. This is the only festival in Seattle that's dedicated to Pacific Northwest films and filmmakers. And so every year we're showing new work from Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Alaska, the Yukon, and British Columbia. It's both a showcase of emerging talent, so people showing their first ever student films, as well as more prestigious titles like local premieres of films that started out at Sundance or Toronto or Rotterdam. And most of the most successful local filmmakers actually got their start through local sightings. Their very first films were shown there.
I think people forget that cinema can be a local art form, that it can be like a folk art almost. You know, your next door neighbor might be this amazing filmmaker, you just don't know it. And that's why places like the Film Forum are so important, because it gives those filmmakers the ability to showcase their work and be seen by the people in their community.
The Northwest Film Forum has been the place where I have found my footing as a filmmaker. All my short films have screened here. This is where we show our work. This is where we build our audience. This is where we learn how to make films.
When I started, I actually came on as the programmer. Historically, there's been always a wide variety of programming here at the Forum. Definitely a strong dedication to art house cinema, to experimental cinema. We don't show any quasi-commercial product. We're showing independent films, we're working with small distributors, or frequently directly with the filmmakers themselves. Of course, film programming is all about trying to strike that right balance of trying to introduce new ideas, new voices, new filmmakers into the mix, and ones that you really want to champion. But also trying to be really attentive to who's here in our neighborhood, in our city, and what do they need. Capitol Hill as a neighborhood has historically been the queer neighborhood, the arts neighborhood, and is kind of following that classic gentrification arc right now. We're just one neighborhood up the hill from Amazon. At the same time as we're seeing a lot of people being displaced and a lot of the kind of original cultural institutions in the area struggle, we're also seeing just vibrance and diversity in terms of the people that are hanging out in the neighborhood, the vibrance of the nightlife. So we're really trying to serve as many communities as we can. For over 20 years now, we've been a host venue for Twist, the queer film festival in Seattle. So that's one of our longest partnerships. We host the South Asian Film Festival, we host the Asian American Film Festival, the Seattle Latino Film Festival, just to name a few. And we also have worked on multiple occasions with the Filipino community, specifically, for example, hosting Kidlit Tahimik, who's the grandfather of independent Philippine cinema, and also participating in a month-long series of events that was celebrating beloved local Filipino writer and activist, Carlos Bulosan. So we've been able to really adapt and thrive in the neighborhood and with all the changes in the city in general, because we've just been radically open-minded in terms of what the role of a movie theater can truly be in the cultural fabric of a city's life today. we are honored to host a retrospective of Sandy and Yasuosawa's work as part of Indigenous Showcase.
The mission was to create something, we only had a half an hour to work with, that showed that Native people were human and that Mother Earth is no cliche.
Courtney came in and reminded us that, yes, we are an art house, but we also should remember that we are connected with the community. When Trump decided to ban 7 countries, she worked on a response.
The 7th Art Stand, it's a nationwide series of films from the countries in the travel bans that happened actually throughout this month in over 50 movie theaters, college campuses, museums, and community centers in over half of the states. It was an act of cinematic solidarity to show the people whose voices and stories and faces aren't seen enough on US movie theater screens, that we're there with them.
It wasn't just simply that Courtney was like, let's make this a venue for larger social issues. Courtney said, let's think of how we can make this venue be interesting. She understood that if you don't do that, you risk in this environment becoming irrelevant.
We just decided to kind of open up what the possibilities of using the screen in the theater as a canvas for all kinds of moving image media for people to interact with. In other words, today I almost feel like we're more of a visual culture venue than just a movie theater. Some of our most successful events actually are things like a local politics comedy talk show that's basically like the Daily Show for Seattle.
How can you enjoy capitalist, consumerist entertainment with the ideals that you uphold? How can you enjoy anything? How do you do it?
We also have a really popular live game show called And for that, we actually built this elaborate set that sits behind the screen in the cinema, and that we take off the screen in order to reveal it just for the show. And the contestants are always local artists, and they're competing in games like alt-right or alt-writer, where they have to guess if the image of a nondescript guy in glasses on screen is like a pitchfork writer or a member of the alt-right.
It is still a film experience. It's just rewired, right?
To me, being a part of this community related to the film forum, it feels like you're genuinely part of something bigger. Like, you know, this is a force, not just artistically, but socially and culturally.
As Seattle changes more and more, the film forum becomes more important, I think. It's not just about a place for obscure films to be made, but it's a place for local films to be made, films to be shown. It's a vital part of that community for sure.